Unemployed, uncertain, and still riding, finding yourself between jobs. Hey friends, welcome back to Hot Flashes and Horsepower, the podcast for midlife women who know that sometimes the best therapy has two wheels and an open road. I'm Shell, road name Pass Out, and if you're joining me today because you're unemployed, underemployed, questioning your career, or simply wondering what comes next in this stage of life, I want you to know you're not alone. Today's episode is one of the most personal I've recorded. We're talking about unemployment, not just losing a paycheck, but losing part of your identity, losing your routine, losing your confidence, and trying to figure out who you are when your job title disappears. I'll also share why riding my motorcycle has become one of the healthiest ways I've found to manage the anxiety, grief, fear, and uncertainty that unemployment brings. So grab your coffee, your tea, or maybe you're listening while you're out on a ride. Welcome. Let's get into it. Losing more than a job. When we're in our 20s, losing a job feels temporary. You think, I'll find another one. Jobs are a dime a dozen. By the time we're in our 40s or 50s, it feels different. We know age discrimination exists, even if no one wants to admit it. We wonder if companies see our experience or only our gray hair. We wonder if we're too expensive, too experienced, too old, or maybe not enough anymore. That uncertainty weighs on you, especially if you spent decades building a career you're proud of. For me, education isn't just what I do. It became who I am. I spent over a decade as a teacher. Then I moved into education technology, professional development, sales, customer success, leadership, helping schools improve outcomes for students, helping educators solve problems, helping districts implement meaningful change. When you've spent decades helping other people, it becomes incredibly humbling to suddenly find yourself asking, who's going to give me a chance? It's an emotional roller coaster. Nobody really prepares you for unemployment. One day you're leading meetings, managing customers, traveling, making important decisions. And the next, you're refreshing LinkedIn every 20 minutes, checking email, applying for jobs, tailoring resumes, crafting cover letter after cover letter, interviewing, waiting, wondering, then doing it all over again tomorrow. Some days you feel hopeful and some days you feel invisible, and it is exhausting. I've been through it before. My industry is quite vulnerable to the whims of politics and budget cuts. And after finally landing somewhere I thought I could eventually retire from, a few weeks ago, I got the dreaded Zoom invite with HR. My manager, someone with whom I've worked for over a decade at two previous organizations, had to deliver the blow from a script. And I know it was hard for her, but it left me on the floor. I am 57 years old. I have a child entering college in a few weeks. I was recently diagnosed with some health issues. I need health insurance. And now that my job is gone, my insurance will also be gone at the end of the month. It is code red over here. But one thing I've had to learn, stop comparing my timeline to everyone else's. Comparison is the thief of joy. Social media can make it seem like everyone is out there announcing promotions, new jobs, dream careers, retirement, whatever. Meanwhile, I'm celebrating getting an interview or maybe just getting a response to an email. Remember, most people post their highlight reels, not their bloopers. They rarely post rejection emails or interviews they didn't get or the nights they cried wondering how they're going to pay their bills. I have to remind myself I am not alone. My situation is not unique. And the fact of the matter is midlife brings different responsibilities. When you're 25, maybe it's just you. At 50, many of us are supporting aging parents, helping adult children, still raising minor children, managing mortgages, saving for retirement, or trying to catch up financially, thinking about healthcare. Maybe perimenopause or menopause is affecting your sleep, your energy, your memory, your confidence. And now add unemployment. That is a heavy fucking load. No wonder it feels overwhelming. Let's talk about what employment data says for us women over 40. While there isn't one official number, labor economists generally consider women ages 45 to 54 and 55 to 64 in separate buckets. Those groups historically have unemployment rates that are slightly lower than the national average, but they often experience longer periods of unemployment once they lose a job. That distinction matters because while younger workers lose jobs more frequently, their unemployment rates tend to be higher. Midlife workers are laid off less often. However, according to the Bureau of Labor, when women over 40 do find themselves unemployed, they often remain unemployed longer due to factors like age discrimination, caregiving responsibilities, industry changes, and salary expectations. According to an article in Reuters published on July 2nd, 2026, recent labor market data shows that overall unemployment remains relatively low at 4.2%, but hiring has slowed considerably. Labor force participation has declined, meaning more people have stopped even looking for work. And many employers are hiring more cautiously, leading to longer job searches, even for experienced professionals. There are statistics that explain why unemployment feels so devastating at this stage of life. Number one, unemployment rates for women over 45 are relatively low. This surprises a lot of people. According to the latest labor data, women 45 to 54 currently have approximately a 3.1% unemployment rate, and women 55 and up, 2.7% unemployment. Those rates actually look lower than the overall U.S. unemployment rate of about 4.2%. Why? Women over 45 are generally pretty well established in their careers, and they tend to change jobs less frequently. But number two, when they lose a job, they stay unemployed much longer, much longer. This is the statistic that really matters. Average length of unemployment. Ages 45 to 54, current average length of unemployment is 32.5 weeks. That is about 7.5 months. 55 to 64 age range, 32.3 weeks. The average across all workers is only 23.7 weeks. Here's the big takeaway. The problem isn't that women over 40 lose jobs more frequently. It's that when they do, it takes them months longer to get back to work on average. Number three, age discrimination is incredibly common. It's illegal as hell, but it exists. Recent AARP research found that 64% of workers age 50 plus have seen or experienced age discrimination. Among women age 50 plus, that number rises to 67%. 2/3 of women over the age of 50 have seen or experienced age discrimination in the job search. 91% of those who experienced it believe that age discrimination is common in today's workplace. I've experienced it. Here's some examples: being called overqualified, being assumed to be less tech savvy, being passed over for training, not receiving interviews despite strong qualifications. I've definitely experienced that one. I have applied for positions where my experience matches bullet for bullet every single desired skill and experience for a post, and then received a generic auto-generated email that says, "Thank you for applying at this time. We're moving forward with candidates whose qualifications more strongly align with the needs for this role." I'm sorry, but how much stronger does someone's skill set and qualifications have to be to knock me out of even getting an initial screening interview? Come on. Number four, many older workers simply stop looking. One reason unemployment rates appear low is because many people leave the labor force altogether. For example, in one recent month, the number of unemployed workers age 55 plus dropped by 109,000. But employment only increased by 11,000. That suggests roughly 98,000 people just gave up looking for work. So they were no longer even being counted as unemployed. A low unemployment rate doesn't necessarily mean people found jobs. Sometimes it means they've given up looking. Number 5, long-term unemployment affects older workers disproportionately. Among job seekers, about 32% of unemployed people age 55 plus were considered long-term unemployed, meaning 27 weeks or longer, compared to about 25% of younger adults. Once someone has been unemployed for 6 months, finding work often becomes even harder because now employers are starting to question that employment gap. Number 6, many women feel they're being pushed out. AARP's research found nearly 1 in 4 workers over 50 feel that they're being pushed out of the workforce, and 74% of them believe that age will be a barrier to getting rehired elsewhere. Number 7, the emotional cost is real and it's huge. Research consistently shows that prolonged unemployment is associated with higher rates of depression, increased anxiety, lower self-esteem, financial stress, social isolation. For women in midlife, these challenges can be compounded by caregiving responsibilities, menopause, empty nesting, divorce, or caring for aging parents. On paper, it looks like women over 50 are doing just fine. The unemployment rate is low, but those numbers don't tell the whole story. They don't show the 7-month job searches, the interviews that never turn to offers, or the feeling of becoming invisible with decades of experience under your belt. Those are the stories that many of us are living. Can we talk about something that isn't discussed nearly enough? Shame. Somewhere along the way, our careers became our identity. When people ask, so what do you do? It's easy to answer, when you got a job. When you're unemployed, that question suddenly gets real uncomfortable. You almost feel like you have to explain yourself. You don't. You are not your job title. You never were. For me, this is where motorcycles entered the story. People often ask, what is it about riding you love so much? It's hard to explain unless you've experienced it. When I'm riding, I'm not unemployed. I'm not worrying in that moment about resumes. I'm not thinking about bills. I'm not obsessing over whether a recruiter has looked at my application. My brain has one job when I'm on that bike: ride, watch the road, watch traffic, feel the motorcycle, feel the wind, listen to the engine, be present. That's mindfulness without calling it mindfulness. One thing unemployment steals is confidence. Every rejection chips away at you, but every ride reminds me I can still do hard things. I can navigate an unfamiliar route. Weather, traffic, construction, mountain grades, long distances. That confidence transfers back into everyday life. If I can ride across the frickin' desert in July, I can survive another interview. My confidence returns 1 mile at a time. For me, riding clears mental clutter. Some of my best ideas have happened inside my helmet. No phone, no notifications, no emails, no endless scrolling, just miles of open road. Something about that quiet helps me organize my thoughts. Problems don't disappear, but they become a little bit more manageable. Sometimes I come home without answers, but I always come home a little bit lighter. I've been in the interview funnel for several roles in the last couple weeks, and last night I completed a performance task that was really challenging. Prior to submitting it, I needed to draft a reflection on the task, and my brain was like jello. So I shut down the laptop, called it a day, went to bed. This morning, instead of coming back up to my home office, I took a ride first. I went to breakfast solo and just enjoyed the road and a quiet meal on my own. It was the mental reset I needed. I was able to come back inspired, clear-headed, and ready to submit my project and my reflection. I so needed that. Learning to separate worth from work. This has probably been my biggest lesson. My value doesn't disappear because my employer did. I still have decades of experience. I still know how to build relationships, solve problems, lead people, support customers, teach, coach, encourage. Those skills didn't vanish just because my paycheck stopped. So what am I doing while I wait? Waiting doesn't have to mean standing still. I've been learning, improving my resume, building some new skills, networking, creating this podcast, thinking about writing again, considering consulting, exploring new possibilities. Maybe unemployment isn't just an ending. Maybe it's creating space for something I never would have considered otherwise. For anyone listening who feels lost, if today you are questioning yourself, I hope you hear this. Your job ended, but your value did not. Your company made a decision. It wasn't a decision about your worth as a human being. Keep showing up, keep applying, keep learning, keep believing. And if you ride, ride. Even if it's only 30 minutes, let the road remind you who you are. Life in midlife rarely follows the script that we imagined. Careers change, bodies change, relationships change, plans change, circumstances change. Sometimes the road ahead isn't visible around the next curve, but riders, we know something important. We don't have to see the entire road. We only have to see far enough to take that next turn. That's enough. Eventually, the rest reveals itself. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. If this episode spoke to you, I would love for you to subscribe to this podcast and share this episode with another woman who's maybe navigating unemployment or career transitions or simply trying to rediscover herself in midlife. You can also connect with me through the Hot Flashes and Horsepower Facebook community, where we're building a supportive space for midlife women riders who understand that life doesn't stop after 50. It just takes a different road. Until next time, keep the shiny side up, keep your heart open, and remember, some journeys aren't about reaching the destination. They're about discovering who you become along the ride. See you all next week.